Hello everyone, it's the Crafty Missy here. Today I have a tutorial for you, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make yourself a really cute fabric bookmark. Let me show you here. This is the bookmark that I'll be making in this tutorial. It's a really cute fabric bookmark, and this is easy to make. This is really not difficult, so if you're a beginner at sewing, you can definitely make this. And you can always leave the buttons off. You can even leave the ribbon off if you want to. It's really up to you, and you can even put many more embellishments in this if you want to. So stay tuned and I'll show you how to make this thing. So let me start by showing you what you will need to make this project. And you can see the most important thing here, which is fabric. You can use any kind of fabric for this project, but I suggest that you use cotton. Cotton is a really good fabric. It's easy to wash, it's easy to handle, and it's easy to sew. So I have a variety of printed cotton fabrics here. But like I said, if you want to use some other fabric, please do. I think this bookmark would look awesome, for example, if made with velvet. Or something else. But like I said, I'm using cotton fabric here. Okay, so you will need some fabric. You will also need some ribbon. Now, you can use a lot of different types of ribbons. What I have here is just general ribbons meant for crafting, scrapbooking, what have you. Choose any kind of ribbon that you want that complements the color and design of your fabric. But one of the things that you have to remember is that you have to choose a ribbon that doesn't unravel from the end, because if you look at this ribbon here, this is a lace ribbon, and this will very easily start fraying here from the end unless you seal it somehow. Now, there are different ways of sealing it. You could sew it, you could dip it in hot glue from a glue gun. You could dip it in hot wax. There are lots of different ways to do that. But just to make this a little easier, I would suggest that you use a ribbon that doesn't really fray from the ends. Okay, so you will need fabric and you will need ribbon. And the next thing that you will need is batting. Now, batting is a word that quilters know well. Batting is the kind of filler fabric that you use in quilting. I've just cut a little piece from my large sheet of batting, and this is what it looks like. This comes in different types and different thicknesses. This is a pretty thick one that I'm using here. But batting is something that makes this bookmark a little chunkier. It makes it look like a patchwork piece, pretty much. A little chunkier, better to hold and stuff like that. If you don't have batting, and by the way, you can get this at fabric stores. If you don't have batting, you can always use felt. Felt is really good to be used as batting. You can use some other fabric if you happen to have some thicker fabric. And this is a good way to recycle. If, let's say you have a pair of old velvet pants or jeans or whatever you have. So you can cut a piece from them and use them in the middle, because no one's going to see that fabric that you have inside. Of course, you have to remember that if your fabric is kind of see-through, then you might not want to choose a very bright contrasting color, because that might kind of show through the fabric. So try to choose a color that is close to your fabric for your batting. But really, batting is pretty inexpensive and you can get it at fabric stores. It's good to have it at home, especially if you like sewing. So, fabric, ribbon, and batting. Then you will obviously need some of the basics. You will need a sewing machine. You will need some pins. You will need something to measure with. I have this thing here. You will need something to mark the fabric with, and what I have here is let me turn it the right way around. This is a fabric marker that is non-permanent, and what that means is I can draw on my fabric with a wonderful shade of purple, you can see here the cap is purple. I can draw on my fabric with this amazing really amazing purple that I can see very easily and very well. And it comes off with water, it comes off with just if I rub it just by touch. And it's really good because it won't stain my fabric. So you might want to have something like this, or if you're using a cotton fabric, you could actually use just a regular pencil. I often use a pencil to mark my cotton fabrics. You will obviously also need a good pair of fabric scissors. Here's my huge tailor scissors. These are by Fiskars and these are really great. And let me think if I'm forgetting something here. Oh yes, you will need at the end, you will need a needle and some thread and a nice pair of precision scissors. And these are just for the end, for when you are sewing, when you're sort of closing the last gap of your bookmark. But if you want to, you can do that step with the sewing machine as well, but I always tend to hand sew the last gap there. But yeah, I think I really have everything here now. If I forget something, I will mention it later in the video, so please watch this video once through before starting to make your bookmark, just in case I forget something. But okay, the next step then is to cut your fabrics. Let's continue making our fabric bookmark. In this step, you will cut your fabrics. So I have chosen this beautiful floral fabric. This is just a basic cotton fabric, and I've chosen this for my bookmark. And you will cut 2 pieces out of your fabric. And what I have done here is I have cut 2 pieces that are in size 8 inches by 3 inches. If you want a larger bookmark, you can always fiddle with these measurements. You can make it, let's say you can make it 9 inches long, you can make it 10 inches long. This 8 inches doesn't really make a very long bookmark, but I kind of like them shorter. I don't like them to be really long and floppy. So 8 by 3, and I have cut 2 pieces out of my floral fabric. Let me put those ribbons away a little bit so you can see better. So 2 pieces, 8 by 3 inches. I have here, that's the wrong side, here's the right side, and I have also pressed this with an iron. You can see they lay really nice and flat here. I have also cut a piece of batting. Now this batting is smaller than the fabrics. This is smaller by 1 inch everywhere. That means that if my fabrics are 8 by 3, this is 7 by 2. And to start off making our bookmark, take one of your fabric pieces so that the wrong side is up and place your batting onto it. Make sure that it is pretty much in the middle, as well in the middle as you can get it. That way you get approximately 1/2 inch of seam allowance everywhere. You kind of get 1/2 inch surrounding it everywhere. It really doesn't matter if it's a little bigger, if it's a little smaller. It's not that important for it to be really, really, really precise here. And what you will do next is you will pin it. And with batting, you really want to pin it well, because batting is kind of nasty in that, I mean, it's nice and fluffy, but it is nasty in that it likes to shift. And when you're sewing it, it kind of likes to shift. And if you don't pin it well, you might end with all your batting on this side, for example, because that's what batting tends to do. If you have a a quilting foot in your sewing machine, you might want to use that. I have that, but I'm too lazy to dig it out, so I'm just gonna sew this with just my regular foot, and let's see how that goes. So I'm really pinning this pretty well, as you can see here. I'm putting lots of pins here. Maybe I'm putting those a little too close to the edge, but it doesn't really matter here. It's really not that precise a science to make this bookmark. So I'm just really pinning it really well. I have a lot of pins here, as you can see. So the next step for me is to sew this batting onto the fabric, and the way that I'm going to do it is I'm just going to go around it just in a rectangle here. I'm going to leave just a little bit of edge here, but pretty close to the edge, and just everywhere like this. If you want to make a fancy pattern here, you can do that, but remember, you really need that special foot in your sewing machine. If you want to do, let's say, like a swirly pattern here, then you can't do that with a regular foot. So the easiest way is just to sew around the edges here to make it a rectangle. So I'll do that and then I'll come back. Okay, so now I have finished sewing my batting onto my fabric, and I just sewed it with a basic rectangle shape that I told you that I would. So the next part then is to add the ribbon to your bookmark, and you can also add any other embellishments that you want, for example buttons. If you do it, you have to do it here before you actually join this part to the other part. And what I wanted to do is, first of all, I added the ribbon, and I also added some buttons. I know that I don't show any buttons at the beginning of this video, but like I've said in some other videos too, crafts are arts. You know, you're creating, and art is always changing. So you get new ideas, you think about new things while you make something. That's what happened to me. I really wanted to make some, have some buttons here, because I think buttons give a really lovely look. So I sewed 4 buttons here. They are pink and pale blue. So I sewed these buttons here, and you can see here, these are the marks of me sewing them. So I did that, and you can add those as well, or then you can just leave those out. But next part is to put on the ribbon, and you will put it on one of these other ends, these smaller ends, or actually, what do you call them? The shorter ends. And this is the way that I have actually pinned them on. I have laid them kind of partly on top of each other, and I have used one pin to attach them. And this is actually the wrong side that you're looking at, and this is the right side, and this is so because I wanted the right side to kind of face this side, because this is the the top part of my bookmark. So that's why I wanted this to the right side of the ribbon to face that side. Obviously, if you have ribbon that is the same on both sides, then that doesn't matter. But the reason why it is here now, it's facing the wrong way out, but the reason is that when I have sewn this from here, it will look like this. So the right side will be up. Okay, so go ahead and attach your ribbon to your bookmark, and I suggest that you do the pin this way. Leave the pin so that the ball is out here, because then when you're sewing from here, you can easily pull it off. So let's continue. Let's take the other piece of fabric that we haven't actually done anything with yet. So I'm placing it here, right side up. There's the wrong side. This is the right side. And I'm placing this one here also right. I'm putting the right sides together, so the wrong side is up for this one, and I'll be pinning them together. I'll just make sure that I put them really nicely and close to each other here. Doesn't matter if they are not exactly the same size or you get a little overlap somewhere. It doesn't really matter. Just do your best there, because you've got quite a good seam allowance here. We've got about 1/2 inch, so that's just enough to allow any little blunders to happen. Obviously, as you can see, this is kind of curling a little bit. That is because we have this batting here, so that kind of causes that, but doesn't really matter. So just pin it together. You can put many more pins if you want to. Just kind of pinning it here. I'm not pinning it too tight, just a couple of pins here and there. Oh, I think I need one here at this corner because I've got my ribbon there. So now I have pinned this together. Right sides are together right in here in the middle, and wrong sides are facing out. So the next step then is to sew this, and you will sew 2 of these longer sides and 1 of the shorter sides. So that means you will leave one side open, and I suggest that you leave this side open that does not have the ribbons, because that's actually, you pretty much need to do that because it's so much easier to do this way. If you leave this open, then you'll have all that trouble of sewing this part here which has the ribbon and all. So I suggest you do it that way. So I'll be sewing this right from here, and down to here, and I will leave this side open, and I'll do that and then I'll return. Alright, so now I have sewn my pieces together. I've also trimmed a little bit here at the edges. Just, you know, any extra that you have there you can trim. I've also, as you can see, I've taken a little bite out of the corners. This is simply that the corners will look nicer when you turn this to the right side. I actually did it even here, even though this one end is still open here. So the next step is to turn this to the right side through this opening here. Let's do that now. So just gently push it through, and if you want you can use a pencil or something else to help you. I'm using this end of the pencil. I'm just gently pushing it in there. Yeah, we can see our ribbon fell out, and in order to get the corners really out, I will use this end, but you have to be very careful here, and your pencil cannot be very sharp. Mine isn't, as you can see here. Be very careful if you haven't done this before, because you could easily just, you know, punch through the fabric. I'm just very gently easing it out, working it out here. The corner. Let's do the other corner here. There we go. So now I have nice looking corners. Isn't this cute? Absolutely adorable. But we still have some work to do, and it's this end here. It's open, and what you will do is you will hand sew it, or of course you can machine sew it too if you want to. The way I usually do this is I kind of grab the edges here where you have the seam, and then I just kind of pull there like this and push them together like this, and then you will need to pin it together, but that wasn't completely straight, so I'll need to do a little bit of reworking here. Okay, let's pin it. There we go. Continue. There we go. Doing some more pinning, and I think I'll put one more pin here. Here at the very edge. Okay, so now I have pinned this, and the next step is to take your sewing needle. I'll take one from this pack of mine, and then take some sewing thread and simply sew this. Now I'll thread my needle and I'll show you how I do it soon. So here I am. I have threaded my needle with this this thread. It is just a regular sewing thread, and it is kind of natural white in color. And the way that I will start this is, obviously I have a little bit of knot here at the other end, and my knots look horrible. This looks really horrible, but I have my very special way of making knots, and they just produce horrible looking knots, but they do the business because you can hide them. Find one of the ends here, one of the edges. I think I'll use that because it seems to have like a little keep there where I can hide my knot. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through somewhere around here. Just push my needle through. Okay, we've got the we've got the knot there, and then I'll just use my needle to kind of push it in there. Okay, we have a little bit of a loop there giving us trouble. Let me try to, okay, sometimes the needle is not good. That's when I use my pencil or something else, but obviously you have to be careful that you won't stain anything. There we go, can't see it anymore. And the way I do this is, let me change this the other way around. This is just the way I do it. Someone might have a better idea of doing this, but I just do these tiny little stitches here. They are almost invisible when you really come close, and you want to do these the ends here, the corners, you want to do them very carefully so that they won't start unraveling later. And I usually do the stitches very close to each other, very tiny, you can barely see them. Let's see if my camera will sharpen. No, it doesn't like to sharpen today. Let me see if it does that now. Yeah, so it's really hard to even see these ones here, and I just go very close to the previous one, and then I just continue all the way down this edge here. So I'll do this and then I'll come back to show you the finished bookmark. Okay, so I have finished making my bookmark now, and here you can see it. I gave it a little press with a hot iron, so it's flatter now. And as you can see here from the end, the stitches are very, very small. Let me wait for this to sharpen. There we go. The stitches are very, very tiny. You can barely see them here. That's why I like to do the stitches by hand. Obviously, if you want to, you can always do this with a sewing machine too. So you can really make a lot of different types of these bookmarks. You can make it with many more buttons, without buttons, with many more ribbons, without any ribbons. And you can use a lot of different fabrics also for making this. So this is a really great gift idea, or just, you know, to learn sewing, or just something nice to make for yourself. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.